naked raku, and it is called naked raku because we do the raku process, but after we're finished, then we scrape all the slip and the raku glaze off to get back to the satin under a pot. We've got to dig down to find them. And here we go. Woo! Once we smoke them, then we take them out and we quick cool them. I'm going to put this now in a tub of water, and that's so that it cools right internally. I love the look of the clay. What you're seeing now is just the clay. It's the clay and the smoke that the clay has absorbed into it in patterns that I can't predict how it's going. I can't make these patterns again. If you want one exactly like it, I'm sorry. This one is going to be so much easier to do. The glaze just flakes almost off to the touch, and so it isn't as hard to clean. See, this is what you're looking for. Wherever the smoke gets in, you see like through here where I had the string wrapped around, the smoke got in there very strongly. And so you get those black marks. So this is going to be a very nice pot. This will be a very nice one. Even this pot, without anything, you can see it's got no wax or anything on, but you can see the luster, the shine. And this is a pot just waiting for something to happen to it. Whether I have horsehair, whether I have pit fire, whether I do another naked raku, whether I do a low salt firing. All my pots have to be burnished with the back of a spoon until the pot itself has the shine. So it's the clay. What you're doing is you're pushing the large clay molecules inside, and you're leaving just the finest ones there that just tend to shine. And so what you get is not only this lovely shiny look, but you get this wonderful sensuous feel. And you can just sit there and rub them, and just all your worries just go away because they got this lovely sensuous feel. You just come along now. This is my studio. This originally was a barn that my dad had built in 1955, and I had it moved over. This was the calf barn. This is the bullpen right here, and back behind you is where the horse stall was, and all the cows were along there. So that there's been a lot of work done on it since it came here. We had to, of course, take all the stalls, or most of them out. I tried to leave as much as I could, though, to give it the barn look, and including the original collars that my dad had hanging here with the harness and things like this, the cowbells and things like that, so that it's so nice to work in a building that my dad built. You can have any fancy studio you want, and it's not going to hold a candle to working in this facility. What I've done here is I've put on an underslip. All it is it's some silica, which is sand, and some clay, some very special, some very light powdered clay, and a little bit of alumina. And I make it into what's called a slip, and I paint it onto the pot. It sits between my pot and my glaze, because if what I'm trying to do here with the naked raku, putting it on this highly burnished ware, I want this all to come off. And if I put my glaze directly on this pot, there's no way I could ever get down to my pot surface again. So I've got to put several coats of this slip on before I ever put my glaze on top. Ready? Right from when I was relatively young, in my early 20s, I've wanted to do art, okay? And I started off painting, but then I had a son that was 1 year old or a little bit younger, and he was starting to crawl around and get into things. And in those days, your paints were full of lead, cadmium, and everything, and I just did not want him to get into this. So I gave it all away to my friend, and then I'm sitting there, and yes, I've got a child, and I've got a husband, and I've got a home, but I have this need to do art. It's something hard to explain if you don't have that need. But I have this need. I've got to do it. I'm not complete. Owie! It's like the guys that are football nuts. You know, they've got to go. They've got to be there, right? Or music buffs, they've got to be there and they've got to hear this. Well, I had to do. And so I'm thinking, what can I do that it doesn't matter whether this 1-year-old or a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old gets into? And I thought, clay. Clay is just our ground. You know, kid can eat it if it hasn't been in a polluted space. You know, it's just dirt. That's Wilbur, that's my husband, and it's really hard to do these things if you don't have a helper. When you're taking it straight out of the kiln into the smoke pots, it's really handy to have somebody there to throw the paper on and the sawdust and things like this, because you want to get them in while they're hot so that you get maximum benefit of the heat that the pot has. You know, even with the silver nitrate especially, because you have to spray and put it out, what you're doing is you're changing the silver that's in solution, that's in ions, back into silver metal when you smoke it. So you're getting this little thin layer of silver metal around your pot. What's happened here is that some of the protecting slip has fallen away when it's been sprayed, and so some of the silver nitrates got underneath, and so you've got this strange little patterning happening back there. Again, just all chance. So much of this that happens in different effects are chance. When I get something that turns out like this, or I get one of my horsehairs that's just exceptional, it's electrifying. But you know, you've got all those times where, oh, it's broken, or it's just a little, the colors aren't quite right, or it's just not quite what you want, and so you think, oh well, we'll try again, and you go again next time. That's one of the things you've got to be prepared for. You have to be prepared for things not working out. You can't have just a half an hour here and an hour there. You accomplish nothing. You know, pieces take hours upon hours, and they take hours of good concentration. Places where you're just lost within yourself. Quite often, both when I'm making my pots and when I'm working in there, I start off with an idea that something's going to be like this, and somehow the material almost speaks to you, and it becomes something other than what you first envisioned it to be. Much better than what you first envisioned it to be. But that's the creative process. You and your material work as one.
If you have program ideas that you'd like to see on Local On Demand, write us at max.local@sasktel.com. Max Local programming is now available online at maxonline.sasktel.com.